Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshiah Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This is not, brothers and sisters, going to be long, but just wanted to read something real quick, if we will. In the scriptures, we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 19. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. And here, brothers and sisters, is what this says. So we can gain some understanding upon this particular matter. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. So what can we glean from that? Where we can read where it says that you suffer not sin upon him. Because brothers and sisters, when you hate your brother, when you hate your people, when sisters hate on sisters, when brothers hate on brothers, when sisters hate on brothers, and when brothers hate on sisters, when elders hate on youngsters, and when the youth or the younger generation do not respect the elders. When that kind of situation happens, brothers and sisters, it says right here, in the case of hating your brother in your heart, that you suffer not sin upon him. When you have that, speaking in general, when I say you, when you have that spirit about you, you are enabling yourself to sin against your brother. Now, in Hebrew, the word for sin is kata'ah. That's the noun. And brothers and sisters, the verb of it is the word kata. It's a lamed aleph verb for those familiar with the language itself, but that's a whole other subject. Now, brothers and sisters, the word kata also means to miss. So when you sin, by default in Hebraic thought, you are missing a mark or missing a point about something. Brothers and sisters, in today's terminology, people speak about people hating on others. And it does happen. It happens in Israel. Nonetheless, brothers and sisters, that doesn't mean to sit there and stop the mission of what your calling is. Now, for those who can hear, I'm playing a song that goes back to the 1980s. May the man who made the song, Adon Dawid, for those who can hear in the background, rest in peace. I remember hearing this back in the 1980s when I was a child. I do thank the Most High for the years in which I've been in the understanding of Israel since I was a little child. Anybody who knows a brother and anybody who's been watching a brother's channel or read a brother's books, you know I give due respect to my teachers. You understand? It is not a thing of worshiping a man. You understand? But it is more about giving honor where honor is due. Now, how does that tie into this? I remember, not naming any names, I remember a statement was made that some people make Hebrew a god. Now, I've heard it said that the Hebrew that a brother teaches not, quote, the real Hebrew. Usually, no disrespect intended, those conversations are usually done in English. So what I tell people is, whatever Hebrew you understand to be true, speak that. You understand? Whatever understanding you have of the language, let that be your understanding upon that, if you will. You understand? But what we will not do in due respect is go back and forth, debate or argue or anything of that sort in English concerning Hebrew. That we are not going to do. You understand? So, yes, shalom, brother Dora. I have heard, I'm not going to name any names, but I've heard it said that some people make Hebrew a god. Nobody makes Hebrew a god. It's just that the Most High God has gifted certain brothers or sisters, elders, males and females alike, to have the passion and then the ability to teach it to your people, to children, to elders, and so forth and so on. I remember sitting under my teachers, you understand, being taught such. In the book of Deuteronomy, it says they sit at your feet receiving of your words concerning a portion of levy. So never was it a thing that somebody became, quote, self-taught. Everyone has a teacher, one way or the other. And if you were shown something, not through the eyes of a human or through the works of a human or a human being used, that means the Most High used you. So therefore, ultimately, that is your lesson. Elohim Morenu, the Most High is our teacher. So these are things that we just want to point out for edification purposes. If we will, let's go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 7, brothers and sisters. We want to, please, while speaking upon this subject, go to Zechariah, chapter 7, and it says this, verse 10. And oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor, and let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. What is that saying? The Most High in Leviticus says you should not hate your brother in your heart. In Zechariah, we distinctly read where it says that you imagine not evil against your brother in your heart. So in both cases, it's talking about how you deal with your brother, your people. And it talks about your heart. It talks about one's heart, meaning one's lib, meaning one's mind. And I want to state this. You cannot, in Israel or in life outside of Israel, you cannot fake love. You understand? You cannot sit there and act like you will, quote, about it while, quote unquote, faking a funk, as the saying goes. In reality, you cannot fake it till you make it, because that which is not genuine from you, you will cut yourself off from it. That's life, whatever it is. You understand? History, Hebrew, cooking. Case in point, there's a brother, a very good brother, that I met when I was in another state, like living in another state, staying in another state. This brother took me to get a fishing rod, taught me how to put the bait on the rod, drove me to the pond, showed me how to fish. And I sat there and said to the brother, drive me back, man. Fishing wasn't for me. I couldn't keep on acting like I'm going to learn how to fish. I didn't have the patience to just sit there and keep throwing the rod and staying there maybe an hour and not catching anything. Nah. I'm saying that as an example to show that nothing can be faked, but for so long. Eventually, the truth, the real, will show itself. That is why it is best to be real from the very beginning in a matter. When a brother or sister asks you, brother or sister, did I ever offend you? Don't wonder why somebody's asking that. They're asking that so that way they can gain an understanding, because he or she may have seen something, read into the spirit of something, or picked up on something. Because while a person is thinking something, he or she doesn't think that somebody else is picking up what the real is. You understand? And as long as things are not being dealt with, brothers and sisters, on the up and up, as long, brothers and sisters, that things are not being dealt with on the real, if you will, you understand? As long, brothers and sisters, that things are kept from the reality of a matter, on how one truly feels, it's not going to work. It's not going, brothers and sisters, to be a good thing. So as the saying goes, one may as well just keep it real from the very beginning. It's better that way. It leaves you less work to have to do to try to cover your tracks in cases of such. I want to give a shout out to the people I see in the room. Sarah Michaela of the House of Judah, Shalom Isha, and the Rayahu Ben Dora. Shalom, my brother. Now, not being long-winded on this, but when the concept, when the ideology, when the thought, brothers and sisters, can be said, just using that as an example, while Israelites have picked up on Hebrew names, while Israelites have respected an elder, whoever, to name him or her, or while some people pick the Hebrew name for themselves, there are Israelites who would sit there and say the statement of some people make Hebrew a god. That is not good. That shows that you have an inner bad feeling towards someone. And that's something we don't want to do, brothers and sisters. The Most High said to Israel not to go and attack the people in Mount Seir, because that is the land that the Most High gave to Esau. Point in mentioning that, which is in, if I remember right, Deuteronomy chapter 3 or Deuteronomy chapter 2, right? If the Most High is telling Israel, don't go and attack the people in Mount Seir because he gave that to the children of Edom, what is that saying to us? The Most High has given everyone their own portion. So if your portion is not in fishing, stop fronting like it is. Stop faking a fuck like it is. If your portion is not in teaching, then stop faking a fuck like it is. If your portion is not whatever it might be, don't sit there and act like it is for the moment, for the eyes of the people, because the Apocrypha talks about that kind of character. When it says, such a man feareth only the eyes of men, and knows not that the eyes of the Most High are 10,000 times stronger than the sun. So what's the point of faking anything? You understand? What's the point in giving a fake shalom? Shalom up when it's not genuine. People, Israel, pay attention, please, because nobody is perfect. You understand? If the Most High God, Elohim, woke us up to this great truth, let said the so-called African American, let's said the so-called West Indian know his true land, his true roots, and his true identity. What makes you think when these nations print things that say we don't know what we're talking about, whose college institutions do not subscribe to us according to what we say in Deuteronomy 28? If the Most High woke us up from being asleep of being a Negro, from being asleep of being a mystery, not knowing your history, from being asleep of just being known as a color, what makes you think you can run game on Israel and the Most High don't open one's eyes? The nations couldn't keep us sleeping for so long. So what makes Israel coming to the true knowledge of our nation make us think that we can run game and keep ourselves asleep? This is why we got to ask who taught who. And what I mean by who taught who, I ain't talking about your Moreh or your Morah. I'm talking about who taught us, like Malcolm X said, to hate your nose. Who taught you to hate the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? And who taught you to hate your brother that looks like unto you? Who taught you to hate your sister that looks like unto your mother and grandmother? These are things that we're talking about. Because Israel, we got to stop that hating. On YouTube, in the YouTube world, if we will, we know good and well exposing is happening left and right, right and left and right. We've been talking about keep your nose clean. We've been talking about making sure that you're living upright. And of course, we know nobody is perfect. But Israel, let us, not being long-winded, stop playing ourselves, self-included. Let us stop while we say to the Most High, Thank you for protecting us from danger seen and unseen. Meanwhile, you are a danger to your own people. It should never be a thing in which the Most High has to intercede for the house of Israel against the house of Israel. That's why Yah gave us laws. So that way we can live by it and judge each other according to it. We shouldn't have to go before the great king against our own people in prayer or in supplication. You understand? But brothers and sisters, the terminology, the saying, if we will, of thus saith the Lord is not in the book of Daniel. Now, where am I going with this? In the book of Daniel, it does not say, thus saith the Lord. Yet Daniel knew what people said about him. How? Because the Most High, while Daniel wasn't even in the land of Israel, is great beyond the borders of Israel. The Most High is great beyond the borders of Israel. So if we can say that the Most High woke us up to this truth, but then we live in a lie one with another, you don't think the Most High is going to expose Israel like he exposed Moab, like he exposed Ammon, like he exposed Amalek, like he exposed Ishmael, like he exposed Assyria, like he exposed Babylonia, like he exposed Greece and Rome? Or do we just think it stops with the nations but won't come to us? Lamentations chapter 4 speaks about the cup of fury being poured on the children of Esau. That means if it's poured on them also, that means Israel drunk it first. Like it says in Isaiah chapter 51, your men are at the head of the street, full of the fury of the Most High's cup and have drained it. So brothers and sisters, we're saying all of that while knowing nobody is perfect. And when Israel has to keep it real with Israel, man to his lady, lady to her man, children to their parents, parents to their children, cousin to their cousin, brother to their brother, immediate and extended. Stop giving a fake shalom. Stop waiting until Shabbat to say Shabbat shalom when you were saying F that nigga just on Wednesday. You understand? Most High see and hear everything. You understand? So, brothers and sisters, in closing out, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. We want to close out, not being long on this. I call this discussing or talking about Leviticus 19. Do not hate your brother in your heart. And as we read in Zechariah chapter 7, do not devise evil against your brother in your heart. And we all know that the Most High hates the one who sows discord among brethren. So if we thank the Most High for waking us up to this truth, how can we, while we proclaim this truth, try to keep each other asleep about what we say and deal one with another? We have insulted our own intelligence in that case. Giving due respect unto the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comment. Shalom.